Pleasant Grove is a small city in Utah County, about 35 miles south of Salt Lake City. Around 38,000 people live there. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other's names, where kids ride bikes in the evening, where a 3-bedroom house on a quiet street is exactly what it appears to be. A home. April 12th, 2014 was a Saturday. The morning was clear. A man named Darren West drove to a house on East 200 North, a house he had once shared with his wife and children, but hadn't lived in for years. He had just been released from federal prison after serving a lengthy sentence on drug-related charges, and he'd come back to do something straightforward: clear out the garage, collect his things, and move on with his life. Darren was not a central figure in what was about to happen. He wasn't looking for anything. He was just a man going through old boxes. He worked his way through the garage. At some point, he noticed a smell. Faint, chemical, unusual. It was coming from one of the sealed boxes. The box was wrapped tightly in electrical tape. On the outside, in handwriting, a label: baby stuff, Megan's. He pulled the tape off. He opened the box. Inside, wrapped in a plastic bag, was the body of an infant. Darren West called his ex-wife immediately. Megan Huntsman was living nearby at the time, in a mobile home park, with her boyfriend. When Darren reached her and told her what he had found, she didn't scream. She didn't break down. She gave him an explanation. The baby, she said, was theirs, hers and Darren's. She had given birth while he was in prison. The baby had been stillborn. She hadn't known what to do, hadn't wanted to call anyone, hadn't gone to the hospital. She had panicked. She had wrapped it up and put it in the garage. It was a terrible thing, she said. But she had been alone, and she had been scared, and she hadn't known what else to do. Darren called the police.
Pleasant Grove Police?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Can I have an officer come to this address?
And your name?
My name's Darren West. I just found something in my garage. I think it's a miscarriage.
Can you be more specific? What do you mean by a miscarriage you found?
I have no idea. Just please send an officer up here.
It sounds like you may need medical.
It's been wrapped up in a plastic bag that stinks.
Okay, what is it?
It's a little baby.
Officers from the Pleasant Grove Police Department arrived quickly and taped off the property.
What the hell is this? What have you done? I always found something. She goes, "Oh, you did?"
Get them for it.
Call the police.
But you said it was yours. Logically, is that true?
I don't know, man. I never knew she made it.
Let's start off with, is it your wife? Where's your girlfriend?
I'm still married to her, but
Okay. So legally, according to law, it's still your wife.
yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't you tell me what her name is?
Megan Huntsman. What happened is when I went to prison, she stuck around for 2 or 3 years and she took off.
But she is with a boyfriend now
Where is she?
in West Valley somewhere.
Megan was brought in for questioning. At the station, she told investigators the same story she had told Darren. Stillborn, panic, no other choice. She was calm. She was cooperative. She answered every question. And for the first hour of that interview, the story held.
You know why we're here, what we're here to talk about. Just start at the beginning and tell me what happened.
Well, we were doing drugs a lot. That's what he was in prison for. I got pregnant right before he left, and I really didn't know because I thought it was just stress and stuff.
And he went to prison in 2006.
Yeah,
How far along were you when he
for a
ran?
couple months.
Where did you have the baby?
In the house, in the bathroom.
In the house that you and Darren lived in. Describe to me what happened.
Well, I was having a lot of pain that day. I didn't go to work. My kids were at school. I went in the bathroom and just sat there and was pushed really hard, and I was blue and wasn't crying, and I was by myself, and I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't get it to cry or anything.
Then what happened?
I got scared, and I wrapped it up. Not being smart and calling you guys, I was in shock. It was stupid of me to do it.
What do you mean when you say you wrapped it up?
You remember? It was towels or garlic or something. I put it in the box.
What would you have done differently, looking back?
Called the cops and told them that I had a baby and that I couldn't get to breathe and have the paramedics.
Then one of the detectives radioed in from the garage to report that they had found another baby.
A woman in Utah has been arrested on suspicion of murder after police found the bodies of 7 babies stuffed in separate cardboard boxes in her former home. Megan Huntsman was arrested and booked into the Utah County Jail on suspicion of 6 counts of murder on Sunday, while the investigation continues.
Megan Huntsman was born on February 26, 1975, the oldest child in a working-class family in Pleasant Grove. Her father was an industrial painter. Her mother worked at a grocery store, among other jobs. The family were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, though Megan had drifted away from the church by the time she reached adulthood. She met Darren West at Pleasant Grove High School. They were young, and things moved quickly. She became pregnant with their first child while still a teenager, moved out of her parents' home at 18, and the two of them married in April of 1993. A second daughter followed not long after. By all outward appearances, they were a young family making their way, but beneath the surface, something was already wrong. At some point, the exact timeline is unclear, both Megan and Darren began using methamphetamine, and once that took hold, it consumed everything. Megan lost jobs. The marriage became volatile. People who knew her said she was struggling badly with depression, that she was withdrawing further and further from the world around her. Her mother described her as someone who never asked for help, who kept her pain entirely to herself, who had secrets about a lot of things. 2 daughters were born during these years. Both of them were healthy, and both of them were raised in the home. But somewhere between the late 1990s and the mid-2000s, in the years when the addiction was at its worst, when the house was in chaos, when Darren was in and out of legal trouble, Megan Huntsman began to disappear inside herself in a way that no one around her fully understood. Not her neighbors, not her family, not even her husband. Here is what investigators would later piece together. Between 1996 and 2006, a span of 10 years, Megan Huntsman became pregnant 7 times. She told no one, or if she did, she later told them she had miscarried. She managed her pregnancies largely alone, hiding them from the people in her life. Neighbors who were later interviewed said they sometimes noticed her looking heavier, then thinner again, but none of them ever suspected she was pregnant. At 105 pounds, with limited social contact and a habit of staying inside, she passed through those 10 years without a single person in her life connecting the weight changes to what was actually happening. Each time she went into labor, she did so alone, in her bathroom or in her bedroom, while her family was in the house. Each time a baby was born, it lived for no more than 1 or 2 minutes. And then Megan Huntsman killed them. She suffocated them. She strangled them with her hands. In at least one case, investigators found evidence she had used a hair tie around an infant's neck to make certain the child was dead. Afterwards, she wrapped each body in a towel, a shirt, a plastic bag, placed it in a cardboard box, sealed the box with electrical tape, and put it in the garage. Then she went back to her life. Her daughters were in the house. In at least one instance, her husband and other family members were sitting downstairs watching television while Megan gave birth in the bathroom above them, killed the baby, cleaned the bathroom, and came back down. They didn't hear anything. They didn't notice anything. 7 pregnancies, 7 births. 1 child confirmed stillborn. 6 killed within minutes of entering the world. And in a garage in Pleasant Grove, Utah, the boxes accumulated, year after year, sealed with electrical tape, labeled with ordinary handwriting. There is a detail from this case that has never received the attention it deserves. In 2005, federal drug enforcement agents searched the home on East 200 North as part of a narcotics investigation targeting Darren West. They went through the property. They found evidence of drug activity. They searched the garage. The boxes were there. The bodies were in those boxes. The agents found nothing. A year later, Darren West pleaded guilty to federal drug charges and was sent to prison for 9 years. Megan was left in the house. The boxes stayed where they were. And the secret survived another 8 years until a man returned from prison to clean out his garage on a Saturday morning in April 2014. Back at the police station, when the detective reported that a second body had been found, Megan's story began to unravel. Not dramatically, not all at once, slowly, the way a structure gives way when the thing holding it up is removed piece by piece. Police found a third body, then a fourth. The search of the garage continued, and with each discovery, the picture of what had happened inside that house over the previous 2 decades became wider and darker. Megan, still being interviewed, eventually stopped insisting that what they were finding were stillborns. She told detectives she had strangled the babies. She said that none of them had been alive for more than a minute or 2. She described, in detail, how she had done it.
Said you tried to get it to breathe. What did you do?
Well, I tried just to clean his mouth out and stuff, and I couldn't get a response at all.
Okay.
I couldn't feel a heartbeat or anything.
Okay. So you clean the baby's mouth out, try to get it to breathe, and then what?
I passed out for a little bit. I think I lost a lot of blood. And then I just remember my kids got home from school and I just told them I wasn't feeling them. And then I cleaned myself up and I went and got a box.
And then, as far as you know, unless someone else moved it, the baby's been in the box in the garage since that first year that Darren went to prison. Were you worried somebody else would find it when you guys were cleaning the garage?
Yeah.
And so what would you do to make sure that didn't happen?
I just kind of slide it and sweep around, and then set stuff on it and, so they knew that part was already clean.
When detectives asked her how many there were, she said she thought 8 or 9. She later said she had just been guessing. She wasn't sure. In the end, police found 7 bodies in that garage, 5 girls and 2 boys, in various stages of decomposition, each one wrapped and sealed and stored among old household belongings. DNA testing would confirm that Darren West was the father of all 7. Darren told investigators he had been unaware of any of the pregnancies. Investigators examined the evidence carefully and concluded there was nothing to suggest he was lying. The medical examiner confirmed that one of the 7 babies had been stillborn. The other 6 had been killed, strangled or suffocated within minutes of birth by their mother.
Everything that's happened. So she's saying that baby was a miscarriage after he went in prison.
That's what she told me. Is that what she's still saying?
Yes. We did get a search warrant in the house, and there's more than one. And so, how many times was your wife pregnant?
I have 3 daughters, and I know one other time that she had a miscarriage. I never even knew she was pregnant with 2 of my daughters until she was like 4 or 5 months along. And then she told me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, sir. How many was there?
There was 7.
You were kidding me.
I'm not. She said that the first one was shortly after you moved into the house.
Oh my God.
And that the last one, she was pregnant by you before you went to prison.
Wait, so she says they're all mine?
That's what she says. And that's why I'm glad you're here, because I would have thought that if she was pregnant 7 times in the 10-year period that you lived in that house, that surely you would have known.
Holy.
Admitted to some crimes, to some horrible things. She admits that she killed some of them after they were born. Like I said, she's being completely honest. And I really wish you were too.
What do you want me to say? I didn't know she was killing kids, and I didn't know she was put in boxes. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how she could give birth and then I don't know.
Were you there when any of these were born?
No, sir. No, sir. I swear.
What we want to do is we want to do what's right, and we want to have closure for these children. We want to have closure for your kids that are alive, for these babies' grandparents. I mean, these babies were in a garage for years.
Pleasant Grove Police Captain Michael Roberts, describing Megan's motive to investigators, used a word that has stayed with this case ever since. Selfish. She was high, he said. She didn't want the babies. She didn't want the responsibility. That was her priority. But in her own words, when investigators pressed her, Megan offered something more complicated. She said her life was too chaotic, too consumed by drugs and by the depression that came with them. She said she knew she couldn't care for these children, not physically, not emotionally, not financially. She said she wanted to spare them the life she knew she would give them. I deprived my little babies of the opportunity of life, she said. I think my mind was just so out of it. All I was focused on was the next fix. There is one more detail worth sitting with. Among the 3 daughters who survived, the 2 oldest born before Megan's addiction took hold, and a youngest born in the years when the killings were already happening, investigators asked why the youngest had been spared. The answer, when it came, said more about the nature of these crimes than almost anything else in the case. When Megan was pregnant with her youngest living daughter, 2 other family members happened to be pregnant at the same time. Megan had told them she was expecting too. The pregnancy was known. That child was not killed, a detective later testified in court, because the pregnancy was known. The others were killed because no one knew. It was not impulse. It was not a single moment of crisis. It was a pattern sustained over 10 years that required one condition above all others: that no one was watching. Megan Huntsman was arrested on April 13, 2014, the day after Darren's discovery. She was booked into Utah County Jail on 6 counts of suspicion of murder. Her bail was set at $6 million, $1 million for each child. In the months that followed, her legal team and prosecutors began discussions about how the case would proceed. Because the killings had taken place between 1996 and 2006, Megan could not face the death penalty. A 2007 change to Utah law had made the murder of a child under 14 a capital offense, but that law did not apply retroactively. On February 12, 2015, Megan Huntsman stood in 4th District Court in Provo.
First of all, are you Megan Huntsman? All right. You're currently held in custody.
Mm-hmm.
And you take no income. Let's see, the last time you worked was December 2013. You haven't worked since then.
It was actually 2012, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you otherwise have any money in the bank or any other investments or anything that would help you retain in-house?
No, I don't.
We're requesting a continuance of 2 weeks if possible.
Yeah, we've spoken about the idea that the state has some pretty serious accusations that they intend to bring. I've spoken with her about the delay. 2 weeks, she's concerned that that's fairly long. In the balance of interest, I think if the state is at all able to file something sooner, we would prefer that.
She said the word guilty 6 times, once for each count, in a quiet voice. Her attorney read her statement to the court. In it, she said, "Depression and alcohol took hold of me the same way drugs did. I cannot give a reasonable answer why I was capable of such a sick and heinous crime. I held my secret for 18 years. At her sentencing hearing in April 2015, Megan's daughters stood up to speak on her behalf. They described the mother they knew, the one who had dinner on the table every night, who kept a clean house, who was loving and present. Nobody could guess my mom would do anything like this," one of them wrote. "This is not the mom I know." Her sister wept as she addressed the judge. "Megan is not a monster," she said. "She's not evil. From what I understand, she was scared."
She had the baby, she would hold it for a short time. She said that none of the babies were alive more than a minute or two. And then she said that she used her thumbs and she was describing what she would just show me like this.
These were very coldly calculated killings.
She was the Megan that I had always known. No one would have ever guessed this shy, timid girl was capable of this. The person I know is not the same girl that the media has portrayed her to be.
No one spoke for the 6 children. There were no names to say, no funerals to reference, no photographs held up in the courtroom. They had no public record of having existed until the boxes were opened. Judge Darrell McDade had signed the original search warrant on the day the bodies were found. He told the court he had quietly hoped the case would be assigned to someone else. "I really thought I had seen it all," he said, "until this case. It shocked me then. It shocks me now."
Charges beyond a reasonable doubt for jury. You understand that? Count 3, murder, a first-degree felony. What is your plea? Yes. Count 4, murder, a first-degree felony. What is your plea? Count 5, murder, a first-degree felony. What is your...
He sentenced Megan Huntsman to 6 terms of 5 years to life in prison. He ordered 3 of those terms to run consecutively, overriding the prosecution's recommendation that they run concurrently. She will spend at least 30 years in prison before she is eligible for parole.
Therefore, I do think that it's appropriate that 3 of the charges run consecutively in this matter, and they can run concurrently with the other charges.
The Utah Board of Pardons and Parole has set her first hearing for April of 2064. She will be 89 years old. In the weeks after the arrest, reporters spoke to neighbors all along that quiet street in Pleasant Grove. Their reactions were variations on the same theme: shock, disbelief, the feeling that the ground had shifted beneath something they thought they understood. Several of them said they had sometimes worried about Megan, that she didn't look well, that she seemed isolated. A few said they had noticed her gaining and losing weight over the years and never thought twice about it. One neighbor said he had helped her mow her lawn. He had talked to her. He'd had no idea she was pregnant, no idea she was on meth, no idea about any of it. "I never would have dreamed," he said.
On this street who say not only is it shocking, not only is it disturbing, but it's just very sad because they knew her very well.
Quite frankly, I'm still in a state of shock. We were wondering what the heck is going on?
Yeah, we were worried about her because we could see that she was not looking in good health. And we were worried about the children that lived there with her.
When the investigation was over, Detective Dan Beckstrom was asked the question that everyone wanted answered. Why had Megan kept the bodies in the garage for all those years? Why not dispose of them? Why hold on to them? He said they had asked her that directly, that they had discussed it at length. She didn't have a good answer, he said. One that you would understand, or I would understand. And that is, in the end, where this case leaves you. Not with a neat explanation. Not with a psychology that fully accounts for what happened. But with the knowledge that for 18 years, on a quiet street in a small American city, a woman carried something no one around her knew existed, and that the only reason any of it came to light was because a man came home to collect his things and noticed a smell and opened a box. Some things stay hidden for as long as the conditions that hide them remain in place. In this case, it took 18 years for those conditions to end. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new case.